Okay, so today I want to talk about straight up business and the many struggles of business. Right now, the business community is crowded. The social media market is very crowded. A lot of messages, a lot of people saying stuff. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, and some of them are seemingly experts because of their following, because of the reels, their creative reels, things that we look at. Those are the things that give us, they're like cues and indicators to make us feel that that person knows what they're talking about. And a lot of times it's not true. A lot of times there's still people with the concept of fake it till you make it, that kind of stuff. But that's not really just the essence of what I do want to talk about. What I do want to talk about is that starting a business is not enough. You have your ideas. We are creative people, humans. That's one of the things I'm going to try not to really spiral into a lot of different tentacles of business, because as a professor, I can go into a lot of different areas and turn certain topics into modules. But there are a lot of nuances with business, starting a business, that people have to understand it's not enough. We're creative. We are one of the reasons why it'd be very, very hard for computers to replace us completely, because computers process. They don't necessarily create. They create what was programmed into them, and it seems like it's creating, but it's not. It's kind of putting things together, replicating all of what was fed into it. A lot of the AI models are scraping the internet to get their information, a whole lot of stuff. But what I want to say is your creativity can cause you to want to jump out there and start a business. Your ideas, which are often great, want to help you start a business. But starting a business is not enough. Staying in business is the real challenge. And I teach that and talk about that all the time, but it's not just in theory, it's in practical, because I myself have owned almost 24 businesses over my time. Some failures, some success. I mean, I've went through some very, very difficult seasons. Went through one, several years ago, and it really taught me certain things. And one of the things it taught me is the importance of systems. Staying in business is, as humans, we tend to rely on people, trust their word, that kind of stuff. So we'll trust the customer's word. The customer said they're going to pay next week. And you're still waiting and waiting and fighting and waiting. And those payment terms, they try to change. You trust the employee that said they love your concept, they love what you're doing, they're going to work for you, they're going to do a great job. And then you realize that that's not always the case. So you now have to create systems to protect yourself, protect the business, protect the idea. The thing is, as the business owner, you're the agent, you're the go-between. Like I always talk about, I always say that people praise the entrepreneur, but they criticize the employer, even though both of them are the same people. But it's put in context. So as a employer, you would have people that would look at you as you're standing between their ability to take as much from the business or grow in their career, and you're standing in the way of that. But the entrepreneur, people like your role that you're playing in getting ideas and turning raw ideas into finished products. They celebrate that. Business owner, to celebrate that. But now when you're talking about being maybe a service provider, that can get a little screwy, and you're still the same person. You're providing a service to your customers. But starting the business is not enough. You have to now stay in business. So what do you do? If you look at a business, over time, things evolve. In a business, you're gonna have to constantly be looking at where your gaps are, the tools are, the things that you gotta put in place, policies, those kind of things to protect the losses, protect the problems. But what a lot of people really don't get and understand is that when you start a business, it's like your baby. I've been talking about this and teaching this for, over a decade, that it's very, very important for you to understand that if you're not in a position to have a baby, don't start a business, because that's really what it is. It takes all your attention, just like a baby crying at night keeps you up at night. Does the baby have needs that you have to sacrifice yourself? Maybe sacrifice money, sacrifice other people, relationships, events, all that stuff, because this becomes your baby. And I see so many people and self-proclaimed gurus out there just giving the blanket motivation to people to start businesses and go out and live your dreams and quit your job and all that stuff, without really having a true plan, having a true framework in place to really do that. And then they step out there and they struggle and they fail. More people fail and struggle in business. That's necessary. And it's because the emotions is the higher driver to start a business than the logical or the practical. People see something and they feel, I can do that. They see a problem, I can solve that. Or they're disgruntled with their job, I can do what this company can do, or I can do it too. And I've seen so many people struggle because of that. And you have to understand that, and to be successful in business, and I've done it, I've done pretty well for myself. I've taken some hits as well, and I've learned, and I've always assessed those hits to see, well, what led to it. Because if it's one thing that I always pride myself on, is the integrity of doing the right thing, giving high quality results. A lot of customers, clients, people that even work for me can say that, past or present. But you're gonna always have an area that can be exploited, or there's a gap. And I talk about the blind spots of CEOs. There's a lot of blind spots that you can develop. You can have a business that's generating millions this week and it fails next week. That's very, very possible. The measurement of a business being money, or who's making the most money, is largely the wrong measurement. People use that because that's what we chase, right? Who's making the most, who's doing the most, the Fortune 500 and 100. They're talking about wealth or earnings per share, or just their market capitalization. They're talking about these kind of things to say that the business is successful. Rarely do they say employee satisfaction, customer retention. Those things become like ancillary, like an afterthought, like a secondary qualifier, and that's not how it should be. So because we're not really using the right measurements, we chase the wrong thing when we're starting the business. We just simply say the money. Now, the money is like the blood flowing through the veins. You need it to make everything work. For the oxygen to pump, for the heart to pump, for the brain to be working, we need blood. But as you know, in a human body, that's not the only thing that's necessary. So having a great idea, I've seen tons of companies go down. I use Webvan. A lot of people may not remember Webvan. It was a company, I think back in the early to mid 2000s, that was started in Atlanta. And I think I was working on my master's at the time, but it was a company that delivered groceries. And driving around Metro Atlanta, I said, this is a really good idea, but I think it's a little bit ahead of its time, because people still were not comfortable fully with, I'm putting my credit card in online and I'm ordering online. Like, that part of the market had to mature first before you can pile another piece of ingenuity on top of that concept of e-commerce. So it folded. But now you look around and there's Instacart, Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, all these other companies now showing up. And then you think back about Webvan, like why didn't that really make it? And I remember that company. A lot of people don't remember that company, but it was a great idea, but it still failed. And a lot of great ideas fail, and a lot of mediocre ideas make it, and a lot of copycats make it off of someone else's idea. Facebook wasn't first. Facebook was fast, fierce, and the best. MySpace was first. And if you really want to bring it down to the root of social sharing, it's not MySpace, it's Napster. But Napster was attacked and ran out of business. But now you have Spotify. Now you have Tidal. Now you have, I forgot the other one that I'm thinking. But these other streaming companies, they're now streaming the same thing. The birth of YouTube TV and Netflix and all that, that's Napster. But we got Napster out of here. So you gotta really go through the process of staying in business. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of criticism. You gotta have thick skin. Customers won't like you. Employees won't like you. People will have a problem. Competitors won't like you for different reasons. It could be because you're great, or it could mean because you're horrible. It's just so many things that are mixed up in it. But what I will say is, don't think because you start mean it's going to be finished. And I'm going to close with this idea as well. Like I said, it is a baby. It's like you're starting a baby. I mean, starting a baby is like you're having a baby. When you have that baby, there's a natural human progression and evolution in being a parent, where you raise the child to be healthy, independent, productive human. You pass before that child. Child goes on and the legacy continues. That's a natural progression. In business, you kind of would want the same thing. You start the business, you grow it, it becomes mature. You have a succession plan, whether it is an exit strategy or it goes to the next generation of children or whatever it is. But once you're in, it's like you're tied to it, just like a parent. And how do you successfully get out? And so many people get out because that child dies before the parent. That child does not make it. And your job, it really is to outlive. It's for your business to outlive you, just like your child will outlive you. So I hopefully this helps a lot of people thinking about business or trying to be in business. It is a beautiful thing, like giving birth. Your ideas are now in the market. There's a lot of crowded fields of midwives and doctors, OBGYN, that's in the market telling you this is how it's done, and they don't have a license themselves. They're not a parent themselves, but they're telling you, so you got to be careful, and it's very, very just distracting. And I see a lot of people kind of falter. So it's the reason behind the infallible business and why I established infallible systems, because I realized that failure was even more of a threat to entrepreneurs than not launching. People are constantly trying to launch, like writers trying to get series or sitcoms greenlit, and they do the pilots. They have a hard time getting it to the studios, but then once it's aired, once it's accepted and being aired, staying on the air now becomes the next challenge. And how do you successfully have that run? Will the show just be canceled, or will it run its complete course? It's very, very difficult. So you really need to understand a lot more of the nuances of being an entrepreneur, being in business, in order for your business to fly. Systems will help you a lot. I can speak a whole lot about that, but that's going to take us into more of a lecture series, and I'll have that kind of information available elsewhere. But just know that starting is not enough. Talk next time.